Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward, y'all. You know, today is no different. Today, I wanted to speak to something. I know I had uploaded some video. Well, I don't think I uploaded the video. I uploaded some communication regarding the strange amount of earthquakes that have been going on all across the planet. 300, they say. I mean, at the last time that I heard, it was 300 earthquakes, and that was yesterday, within 24 hours. 300. And, you know, it made me begin to think, you know, when I hear things like that, I don't brush them off as, just something normal. I look deeper into them, and my antenna goes up, and I cross-reference everything to spirit. Every single thing. Especially things as monumental as earthquakes. You know, throughout the Bible, it speaks to earthquakes and them being movements of God. All throughout the book of Matthew, when Jesus was crucified, the earth shook and rocks broke open. The book of Revelation speaks to earthquakes. All throughout the Bible, you hear of the earth shaking violently. And it's all synonymous to the movement of God or the wrath of God, either earthquakes and famine or earthquakes in some form of pestilence. And so when I heard of this tremendous movement of God within a very short span, it made me think to how God moves. I know many of you guys saw the earthquake in Colombia, how it was videotaped and how we were able to get a first-person perspective on what it would have been like to have been there. You see buildings shaking and breaking apart like they are, you know, doll houses. You see people in the street being moved back and forth by the shaking of the earth. And all these things, they remind me of so many instances in the Bible where God is using the shaking of the earth to do his will. When we look in the book of Baruch, out of the Apocrypha, we see something similar to this when God buries the temple of Jerusalem. The earth shook violently. It shook so much that it buried the temple underground. When you look at the earth shaking and on the pictures of, you know, what happened in Colombia, you can imagine something even of a larger magnitude happening. So much so that it breaks up the earth beneath our feet, loosens it, so that the water that is deep within the earth starts to rise and mix with the dirt and swallow up whole places. I immediately began to think, how could this planet do that? How? If we're just living on a lifeless rock full of dirt, how could it shake so violently? What within it? What deep inside of it? What underneath the surface is there that would provoke such movement? I created a Hey Friend episode to support this, to get the thought of this moving within the hearts and minds of all of you. And that is to say that the earth is alive, friend. She is alive. It brings me back to the original concept of how this planet came to be. Many of us only see it from a surface level perspective: dirt, rock, water, grass, and all the various components that are birthed from such. Then we look above ourselves and we see the stars and we see the planets and we see the moon and we see the sun. We see clouds, we see sky, we see darkness. It's as if we are in between two separate living worlds. We are bound in between two separate, distinct living worlds. I say living because if the earth can move in the way that it has in the form of earthquakes, if the earth can produce life, if it can receive life in the form of things that is of it, and allow it to decompose and to be converted back into new life, without depending completely on it for its survival, meaning the earth doesn't need to have any particular species decompose for it to do what it does. It's fixed in that nature. It's going to produce regardless. Yet all that is birthed of it goes back into it and it is recycled back out again. How could it be dead? The dead don't do that. Only the living do that. When we look in the sky and we see the planets in their fixed nature, meaning their movement never shifts. They're fixed. They move the same way 99.999% of the time, until they reach a threshold and they become weak and they're prone to fall out of orbit or to self-destruct. Yet the mere fact that they can move or that they can grow old and become weak to the point that they self-destruct means that they must be alive, friend. Only the living experiences such. It brought me in my thinking to the story of Tiamat. Tiamat, the one that was slain, and in her being slain, created this world that we're in. Her body, the dense matter, the physicality of who she is, was cut into two. One portion of her made the heavens, and the other portion of her made this earth. Yet when you say she is slain, is she? It's interesting. Because if we are smack dab in the middle of what was created from such, we are living and surrounded by new life that springs forth from her. If we are blessed with the radiance of the sun and the moon and the stars and all of the energies that emanate from them in real time, then those aspects are still alive in her. They're not being manufactured from some subservient individual that superimposed itself upon her, that's her. She's sleeping. Just as we sleep. And when we sleep, our body does not shut down. It doesn't stop. It goes into somewhat of a dormancy. It goes on autopilot. That's what's happening. Seem like we've been on autopilot, friend. But it seems as if movement is beginning to happen, as it does when many of us wake up. We don't just, we're woke. We begin to move subtly. Turn over. Get comfortable in a new position. Go back to sleep. It seems as if this is what is occurring. Now, I know many of you will not agree with me, and you'll say, oh, you must be talking about, the Queen of Heaven, and that was an evil spirit, and in Jeremiah's time, Judah was honoring and offering to the Queen of Heaven, and they were punished by God. I don't, the jury is out on that. I don't know the full storyline on that. I'd love for someone to tell me, because I don't think anybody really knows. All we can do is come forth with our best interpretation based upon the information that is before us. And as much as I have investigated in on this conversation of the Queen of Heaven and such, I can't say for sure. And because I don't need to falsify myself, I'm a student just like all of you. I'm strong enough to say that I don't know for sure. But I do know that there were daughters and sons born from what happened in the separating of what some would consider TIAMAT, the feminine principle that gave birth to the heavenly realms and the earthly realms. If it weren't for this chaotic situation, none of us would have anywhere to exist. There would be no heaven and there would be no earth. So whether the Queen of Heaven that the Bible is speaking to are the daughters that were birthed, or it is speaking to this entity that has given life to this planet, that those in ancient times spoke to, that even God in the Bible speaks to. For without, we would not have a plane to exist upon. I'll read it. Chapter 50 of the book of Isaiah. Verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement? I know this by heart. I don't even need to read it. I've pondered this so deeply. Where? God says, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement? Y'all got all these rumors and these theories, and you think you know it all and you got it all down pat. Where is the proof of what you say? Where? Who can you reference that can come and speak for such? God is saying, she and I alone know. I'll keep going. Thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? That's the only fact that is on the table, is that God has put her away. What does he mean by putting her away? Is it locking her up somewhere, throwing her into some vast abyss. He put her to sleep. He put her to sleep. Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Friend, behold, for your iniquities ye have sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. Listen, the story of Tiamat is a very interesting story. As I said, she was slain. And I'm not going to get all into the details of it, but she was slain because she and her husband found that the children that were in the world at the time, in her world at the time, were troublesome people. They kept a lot of problems up. And because of that, they were going to get rid of them, do it all over again. And word gets out about this, and they revolt somewhat against her. Her children rebelled against her. And in her hearing of this rebellion, she begins to not have faith in her children being able to defend her. You see, her children, her sons, were her defense. They were the defenders of her throne. But because they did not want to be managed by her any longer, and they did not, most importantly, want to straighten out their ways, they wanted to just replace her. So what she does is she creates new entities, monsters that she can trust to do her will. She's creating entities that she can pre-program. Just like some of y'all create these sigils and you can pre-program them and they're your army and all that. She's doing the same thing, but at a heightened level. Whereas your entities live in the imaginary realm, she's able to pull them from the imaginary realm into physical life and give them breath, and they're animated and they're walking and they're acting and they're what have you. She brings her ideas into the world of life. And a lot of them are monsters because she needed them to be. Because they had one job, and that job was to protect. They were not created to be a new species that would take form within the world that she was within and live and multiply and all those things. They were protectors. She gave way to the dragons. All of them. And the original dragons, when you read the story, were just that, dragons that were protectors to her kingdom, which was the only kingdom. She had no rival. She had no enemy. The only enemy she had were the enemies she gave birth to. Her sons. And these dragons will be deeply loyal to her. And they will wage war on behalf of her against her own sons. And although she and her husband would be slain, these dragons would live on, just like the sigils that we spoke to live on, even though those that create them don't pour attention into them anymore. And these dragons would still have life, and they would need a way to live, be of use. This is why when you see in many of the Middle Eastern and the vast kingdoms of the world, these dragons, this is representative to that. This is where it all started. They were protectors to her kingdom. And in them slaying her, she's formed the heavens and the earth. And time passes, and God would form man. This is the world before the world that we know. This is what Genesis picks up on. This is the world before Genesis. And then Genesis introduces another world, and it says in the book of Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This is the foundation from which God is moving. It's already been set. It's springboarding off of her body. I know this is deep and it's compelling to some of you, and maybe to some of you it's offensive and heretical. But these are conversations that must be had. You need to have a wide palette. If you're going to get anything out of your spiritual walk, you must have a wide palette. You can not only read one book and get the fullness of God. I can't tell you that that's true. There's no contradiction here. There's no blasphemy. This story predates Genesis. But it also, after she is slain and her body has been separated and the heaven has been created on one half of it and the earth upon another half, God is standing in the middle. And he's saying, "Now, let there be light." Yet, it is this body that we are living upon. Mother Nature, where do you think all of these things come from? God can control the forces of nature. Why? Because he controls her forces. God, the creator, controls the forces. Man thought he could control them. This is why they were not afraid during the flood. They weren't worried about the flood. They knew the flood was going to come. They thought that they had enough spiritual prowess and ingenuity and connections that they could overcome whatever may happen with nature. The least enemy the least enemy that they had in mind was nature. They heard that God was going to flood the world. They're like, "Oh, he's going to be working through nature. Okay, we got this." Because that's all they were working with. They had perfected somewhat the craft of manipulating Mother Nature. This is what God is speaking to. I'm going to read it to you again. "Thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement? Whom I have put away. I put her to sleep. Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Who do I owe? Who do I need to settle a debt with? that I owe that much to, that I got to pawn you. That's how valuable you are. This is what God is saying. He's saying you're valuable. Who do I owe that I've got to give you as ransom for, as payment for? I don't owe anybody anything. Especially not anyone that I need to pay with my precious creation. Behold, for your iniquities, your wrongdoings, because of your wrongdoings, have ye sold yourselves. You've done your own selves in. You trying to fight it. You using nature. You using the forces of this planet to fight it. You've boggled yourself down further into debts. It's you that's indebted, not me. And for your transgressions is your mother put away, because you were using her for nonsense. I saw somebody on social media talking about we need to start doing witchcraft. We need to bring all of that back. And I thought, boy, I remember a time in my life where I thought maybe he could have been correct. Because anybody in the spiritual walk, when you're inquisitive and you don't know, those things seem flashy and powerful. They seem effective. You're now empowered to create change in your life without having to go out and confront someone, without having to go out and really speak your mind to people. You can make lasting change in the secret of your home. How many people do this? You got people that will align to you and show one way to you, and they don't even feel that way. They'll go home and manipulate a bunch of stuff. They live their whole life. Could you imagine having lived your whole life being fake? Just holding on to folk because you don't feel like you can do anything else on your own. Having to control somebody by way of witchcraft. In ancient times, prior to the house of Israel forming and prior to organized religion, this is what people did. They used nature to change things. When you look at tribal communities, shamans and your doctors in tribal communities, they would use nature and prayer to make lasting change for the good. But what God is speaking to in the Bible here is that these people were using it, as many do today, for nonsense. They were using aspects of Mother Nature for nonsense, to harm each other, to inflict their selfish interests upon one another without any regard to how it will affect the other person. They be trying to unalive one another as if they're not going to ever transition. And God said, I put your mother away because of your transgressions. The power of nature, her fullness of power, we don't even know. This is what God is saying. You think you're doing something with that little stuff you're doing, and some of y'all, I'm sure, are quite talented. But when you come against one that is anointed with God, it doesn't matter if you are an expert or a intermediate. It won't be effective. Yet the intermediate in that example will have more of an advantage because they will know when to quit. Whereas the expert will continue to try Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's go get another one. Let's get someone else. Oh, you got folks that come and volunteer. I'll try it. Now it's a challenge. Wickedness. God is saying, this is why I put your mother away. This is why she is sleeping. Friend, the earth is sleeping, but she is waking. And I'm not sure she's going to be happy with what she sees when she wakes. And this is what we need to be concerned about. Living the life you love and loving the life you live. I don't care what it looks like, friend. Today, I got a couple of dollars today, whereas in my past life, I would have thought nothing of it. And I was happy. Just as happy as I could be, friend. Because I love my life. Friend, this is the best thing ever. I'm here to tell you, being able to sit up and ponder my spiritual concepts, the things that I know and have learned, and to be able to continue to go forward in learning and not get egotistical. I can't afford to get egotistical. The idea doesn't even hit me to become egotistical. Why? Because I'm constantly moving forward. My force field won't allow me. We're on a forward projection. The only time you get egotistical is when you've been in something for an elongated amount of time. Then you begin to feel like, okay, I know this. I got this. Life is on autopilot. I'm doing this. That's the only time egotistical mindsets begin to start showing themselves. But when you're constantly moving, there's always something new. Life gets exciting. You're going to have days where you feel down. You're going to have days when you feel up. You're going to have days when you were down for a month. And then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, dang, I remember. Okay, good. I'm feeling good today. It's going to be highs and lows, but you're moving, friend. And with each movement, you are gaining powerful truths of God and of yourself. Without having to sabotage somebody else. Without having to be fake and try to act like you're something that you're not. Without caring what someone else thinks. And through it all, friend, God will walk you through it and he will maintain you. You will be maintained in the same way as you were when things were normal. Without you even being checked in at the level that you are. God will maintain you. I'm a living witness. I went from a Maserati to a Mitsubishi, and I don't care. Friend, I'm so glad I got out of that Maserati. I don't want that kind of attention. And I know most people will say, oh, she's just saying that because she ain't got that Maserati no more. Friend, I promise you, I don't miss that Maserati. I don't mind hopping in that Mitsubishi, friend. It does not buy. What is that? A Mitsubishi Montero? It might be a 85. I don't know. It's black just like my Maserati was. It don't bother me at all. I feel more wealthy. I'm so serious in that Montero, friend, than I ever felt in that Maserati. And that is a fact. Because I love the things that I'm doing. The earth is alive. And she wants you to live the life you love. And love the life you live. She does not want you to use her body and all of her energies to hate yourselves or your life or one another. She wants you to love yourself and to regard one another and love one another. This was the purpose of this podcast today, to say that. I'm going to read it again. Thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to you, whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities have ye sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. He put your mother away. He made mother sleep in all the fullness of her power because many were misusing it. Just as we misuse it today to do nonsense, unnecessary things to one another, just to see if we can do it, because we don't have regard for life. Yet when you love your life, and you love the life you live, it will show in your actions, not in your words, in your actions. You will be managed by yourself, and your actions will speak volumes for you, because God doesn't care nothing about your words or your fake projections or what you want to make people think and feel about you. God wants to know who you really are and what you actually did. This is it. This is my word for you today. A little unorthodox, not too traditional, but that's who I am. So have a wonderful evening, you guys. I love you, and be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.